It was a beautiful summer day as we drove into the woods, searching for the perfect spot to set up our tents. The sun was shining through the leaves, creating a warm and inviting atmosphere. We found a clearing near a river and began setting up camp. Everything seemed perfect, but I couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. As night fell, we sat around the campfire, roasting marshmallows and telling spooky stories. But the peaceful mood was suddenly shattered when we heard a low growl from the coming bushes. We all froze, looking at each other with wide eyes. As the growling became louder, we quickly grabbed our flashlights and shone them in the direction of the sound. What we saw made our blood run cold. Between the trees, we could make out a pair of red glowing eyes. We could hear something sniffing and rustling in the bushes, and it was getting closer. Without a second thought, we grabbed our belongings and ran back to safety of our tents. We all huddled inside, hearts racing with fear. We could still hear the growling and sniffing outside, but it eventually faded away. We eventually managed to calm down, trying to reassure ourselves that it was just a wild animal. However, that night, I found it difficult to sleep, constantly looking out of the tent window, feeling like something was still out there. The next morning, we woke up to find our campsite in chaos. Our food and supplies had been scattered everywhere, and there were deep claw marks on the trees. It was clear that a bear or something other large predator had paid us a visit. We quickly packed our things and decided to continue our trip deeper in the forest, hoping that to put some distance between us and whatever had frightened us that previous night. We had been hiking for hours when we stumbled upon a cave hidden behind a large boulder. Curiosity getting the better of us, we decided to explore it. As we entered the cave, an overpowering smell hit us. It was a mix of rot and decay. We cautiously continued further into the cave, our flashlights revealing strange symbols and drawings on the walls. It wasn't until we reached the inner chamber of the cave that we found something truly horrifying. There, in the chamber, was a makeshift altar of candles and bones scattered around it. We could see strange symbols etched into the floor, and the walls were covered in what appeared to be dried blood. A chill ran down my spine as I realized we had stumbled upon some sort of ritual. We quickly made our way out of the cave, our minds racing with fear and confusion. Who would perform such a sinister ritual in the middle of the forest? And what were they trying to summon? We had no answers. But one thing was for sure. We needed to get out of there as soon as possible. As we continued our hike, the atmosphere around us seemed to change. The once bright and sunny day had turned into an eerie, foggy afternoon. The birds had stopped chirping, and the rustling of leaves had been replaced by an eerie silence. It felt as if we were being watched, and the feeling only grew stronger as we came across another clearing. This clearing, however, was different from the others. In the center, there was a large tree with hundreds of red ribbons tied around its branches. It looked almost like a shrine, and we could feel an intense energy coming from it. My friends and I exchanged worried glances. We all knew we needed to leave, but we were lost, and the path to our campsite seemed to have disappeared. Just as we were about to give up and spend the night in the strange clearing, we heard the sound of footsteps coming closer. we turned around to see a group of people dressed in black robes, chanting under their breath. They seemed to be performing some sort of ritual, and my heart began to race with fear. We quickly hid behind some bushes and watched in horror as the group pulled a small goat and placed it on the makeshift altar. I tried to look away, but I couldn't tear my eyes off with the gruesome scene before me. They chanted louder and louder until, suddenly, the goat's body began to convulse, and its eyes turned a sickly shade of crimson. My friends and I let out a collective gasp, and the group of robed figures turned towards us, their faces displaying a mixture of shock and anger. We wasted no time and bolted out of the clearing, frantically running back towards our campsite, hoping to find our way back. As we stumbled through the forest, we could hear the group of robed figures chasing after us, their angry chants and heavy footsteps getting closer and closer. We were running for our lives, fueled by pure adrenaline and fear. Just as we thought we were going to be caught, we saw the familiar clearing where we had to set our camp. We ran faster, our hearts pounding in our chest. We could hear the footsteps and voices in our pursuers getting louder, and we could even see the shadows growing larger. But somehow, we managed to reach our campsite and quickly tore down our tents, threw our things into the car, and drove away without a second thought. We didn't stop until we were miles away from the forest, too afraid to look back. It's been months since that terrifying camping trip, and I still cannot shake off the images of that cave and the strange ritual we witnessed. I had no idea who those people were or what they were trying to do, but I know one thing for sure. I would never go back to that forest again. The memories and the feeling of fear and danger linger with me. A constant reminder of the terrifying camping trip that changed my life forever.